Why worry about missing a shot you have yet to take? I think a lot of times in life we get so caught up in the possibility of our own failure and the possibility of our own success to the point where we worry too much. I feel like in a lot of ways, worry about success is one of the greatest failures because we are unable to actually see ways in which we can succeed while being preoccupied with worry and doubt and ways in which we can fail. I feel like if we want to succeed, then it's about the choices that we make that lead to success. And if our mind is focused on negative things and it's focused on ways in which we can fail, then we're not necessarily thinking of ways we can actually move forward with whatever we're doing. And I think that's why a lot of people sort of get caught into the loop of negativity when it comes to their aspirations. I think in a lot of ways we have to learn to be completely present with whatever it is that we're doing. Be present enough to take action in a real way. I think if we sort of deviate ourselves from the moment and don't allow ourselves to truly, I guess, express ourselves into the moment or express our desires via our action, then it's just going to be expressed via our thought. And I think a goal without action is just a thought. I think we a lot of times have things in our heads that we want to do and that we want to achieve given a certain day or given a certain time, but we sort of allow our minds to get occupied with other things, whether intentionally or not, or whether relative to our anxiety or thoughts about a situation or not. And in saying that, I mean that sometimes when we have things that we need to do or have things that we're somewhat anxious about or somewhat nervous about, we get very much caught into the cycles of our habits or our mechanisms that sort of try to take us away from the moment, try to just get our minds off of those certain things. And I think in that avoidance, we find our biggest problem. The avoidance itself, the inability to accommodate enough space within yourself or within your idea of yourself to actually allow you to be on par or be above whatever it is that you have to face. And I think it's important to sort of look at things for what they are and allow the present to truly be the present, just as we let yesterday be yesterday. I think sometimes we get into the habits of having some sort of distinct future expectation. Not necessarily saying not having a desire, but having a distinct future expectation. So much so that we are unable to appreciate what is or unable to do anything where we are. I feel like in the same way I was talking about like the basketball analogy, like why are we worried about missing a shot we have yet to take? It's the same thing. I think a lot of times we try to say, oh, what if I make this? What if I don't? When it's figured out when you shoot, when you actually carry out the action. And I think success works in the same way. I think a lot of us determine if we succeed or fail before we actually even attempt to try. And I think that's our greatest failure in a way. I feel like, especially when we compound upon the negative, I think sometimes, having some sort of, notion of your own success is beneficial. And I think it's important to use that to your advantage so you can be present enough to see opportunities of success, but not necessarily focus on opportunities of negativity and failure. I think we have to give ourselves to the moment in order to get anything from the moment because what you put in is what you get out a lot of times. And sometimes it is a little difficult to rewrite the ways in which you've carried yourself or the ways in which you've allowed yourself to be, cycled. And I think the best way to do that is to be outside of it, one. And to do that, I think it's just about conscious choice. The choices that you make that lead to your certain outcomes. And I think we have to recognize the ways in which our perspective leads to certain reality. Because our perspective dictates our thoughts, dictates our actions, and dictates our feeling. And if we can feel in accordance to whatever it is that we want, then we're that much closer to actually attaining it. I think it's about building each piece and part into the moment, allowing it to be where you are rather than some distant part of the future or some relic of the past. I think success is more so a mentality than it is any of your accolades. It's the way in which you go about your problems and go about your aspirations in a way that actually allow you to go out there and get them, actually give you the validity and strength to go out there and get them. And I think our preoccupation with doubt is somewhat the thing that takes us away from our ability to do that. I think when we're living in doubt and in a reality that doesn't really accommodate us, everything seems very personal. It seems as though every one of our actions and every one of our words or something like that is sort of causally related to everything that happens outside of us, or at least related in a mental sense to how other people perceive us or how we perceive ourselves. And I think it's important to perceive yourself in a way that allows you to continue to be you. And I don't mean that to say be narcissistic or be negligent of the way in which you impact people, but be mindful and present. In a way, smile and watch. Be here while you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and leave room for your own growth. I think a lot of us sort of put ourselves into a stagnant box when it comes to our expression, when it comes to who we are, when it comes to addressing things. And I think if we're going to address them in a way that actually benefits us, it's about having us in mind. Not in a effort sense, not in a, oh, how would I react to this, but truly listening to how you feel. Truly listening to who you are given a certain circumstance, given a certain time. We're constantly changing, and I think change is sort of our prerequisite. I think change is the prerequisite to success, whether that's a change in your environment, a change in your action, changing your job, changing your anything, but most of all, a change in your perspective. I feel like if you, like, what is it? Like a militant man in a time of peace is bound to attack himself. If we keep that same mentality that we always have kept, then it's likely that we're going to start projecting that onto the world around us, regardless of the situation. That is to say, like, if we're in a negative, turbulent time and we allow that to sort of paint our character and allow that to be who we are, if we get into a positive time, a positive situation, then a lot of times it bleeds into that positivity because we are the negative aspect. And I think it's important to recognize that we carry part of the situation with us at all times. And that's what it means that, you and the situation are not completely, separate in the sense of impact. I think we have to recognize that we influence every situation we're a part of because we're a part of the situation. And whether that's just being in the situation and recognizing that you're positive and recognizing that this situation is negative, I think is important too. I think we have to sort of understand that who we are is not necessarily completely defined by everything in the external sense. I feel like a lot of our internal problems need internal solutions, not external solutions. So if we're going to go about anything, if we're going to do anything that actually works in our favor, then it's about actually doing things that work in our favor. It's about actually being present enough to choose those things that actually lead to our best good rather than keep us cyclic and cycled into our own mind's bias and negativity. I think we need to learn how to stop leaving space for doubt in our heads. And what that means to me is sort of occupying your mind with your own success, occupying your mind with your own aspiration rather than occupying it with your own, tend to failure. I feel like you either have faith in self or fear for your success. Faith in your success or fear of failure. I think that's what it really is. And unless we have some type of self-confidence, unless we have some type of, understanding that he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both correct, then we're constantly going to be in some type of, relationship governed by this idea of fate. Or this, not saying in a sense of everything's not predetermined or anything like that, but in the sense of we're allowing everything outside of us to define every single thing that's going on. And I think if we want to instantiate something new, it's about becoming new at that thing that we want. Becoming new enough to actually posit some type of energy, some type of change, some type of intention with whatever it is we're doing. Posit some type of love in our perspective to actually accommodate our own success and give ourselves enough of a feeling of worth to actually go out there and get what we desire. And it's not even about, if you're worthy or not. I think it's about, do you want it? And giving yourself the worth because that's your desire. I think we don't necessarily want things that we are 100% unable to get. I don't think certain aspirations and dreams are put in our head for no reason. And in saying that, I'm really meaning that we have to learn to take the shot without worry. Have a subtle confidence for what is, and that doesn't necessarily be negligent of your skills and your strength, but you're not going to recognize your skills and your strength unless you actually try to apply them. Sometimes you have to miss a shot to recognize that you actually need to work on your shot. You need to work on your form. You need to work on this, and the other. But most of all, you need to work on your mentality. Because you could be the best shooter, you could be the best person for the task, the best person suited for your own success. But if you're negligent of your own mind's influence in that, then you'll miss a lot of the shots without recognizing that you actually have the capability to make more. I feel like there's always a mental aspect when it comes to aspirations, and I feel like a lot of successful people sort of allow themselves to be driven, or allow themselves to work in their highest good, work in reference to what they actually want instead of what they're trying to leave behind. And I think in doing that, we give ourselves an opportunity to create new, to create something new, and sort of break the cycle that we've repeated over and over again. I think the cycle remains as cyclic as we are. And unless we sort of break the habit, or break one of our seasons, or break one of our continual things that strip us away from ourselves, then nothing will change. I think it's also about your address of fear, or address of what it is that actually makes us afraid and keeps us in this state of being governed by everything around us instead of our own internal facilities. Sometimes things aren't going to look the best. Sometimes they're not always going to be in some type of great situation. But I think as long as you keep a mentality that brings you up to the speed of the current situation, then I think we're that much more suited. I think it's important to recognize that nothing lasts forever in a real sense. And I think that in recognizing that nothing lasts forever, and recognizing that, we sort of have to allow each moment to pass, we give ourselves an opportunity to remain persistent. And I wrote about this the other day. And I think I want to share it with you all because I feel like it's kind of important. But it's called Nothing is Forever. If no time is taken to take in the time, then it will be gone with our potential appreciation. We are negligent of what needs to be appreciated within what is. We lose what could be. Each moment's good and bad can create a new foundation for us to stand on. When we are faced with troubling times, a person should not merely wait for it to pass in a subtle way, rather pass it within ourselves, to bring ourselves to the level of our conflict and allow ourselves to become present in the moment. Letting go of our expectations for things to be a certain way is the only way for things to be new. And I think it's very true to realize that if we only live in our fear or live in the same mentality, then that's all we're going to produce. I think true success is your ability to let go. Your ability to let go of your own preconceived notions and own preconceived ideas to the point where you can redefine your success and redefine your aspirations and how you go about them. I think it's important to sort of face whatever it is directly. I think when we run from our fears, when we run from anything that we find negative in a subtle sense, not in a dangerous sense, then we're in a lot of times running away from ourselves. We're running away from a version of ourselves that is actually suited to address the problem. And I think it's always about the choices that you make when things get rough or when you're in some type of hard time that allow that to happen. It's about the choice you make every day to get up and be disciplined and be loving with yourself and care about yourself day in and day out. It's always about the love and care that you give to yourself behind the scenes and the amount of cheer and the amount of audience that you give yourself to allow you to not perform. I feel like you need to, in a way, learn how to express yourself for who you are. And that can always be a changing thing. Not who you are, but more so how you express it. I feel like it's important to understand that, our languages are something we're supposed to speak through, not something we're supposed to just speak. We have to learn to invest ourselves within our every action. Allow our authenticity to shine through pretty much everything we do. And I think the best way to do that is to sort of no longer try to be anything. Just allow yourself to be as you are and give yourself an opportunity to see that for what it is rather than what you think it should be. And in that way, I think our success will be a lot closer because we'll be a lot closer to who we are in ourselves. And then our comfort with the situations and our comfort with our own idea of our success will be more attuned to actually getting it. Um, so if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourself and doing what you can, what you have. It's important to recognize that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I think it's important to recognize that we don't have to play some type of future predictor in order to have some type of validity in the present. The best way to be as you are is to be as you are where you are, not to achieve a bunch of stuff in the future and feel like then I'll finally love myself, or then I'll finally give myself the validation I need in order to be who I am. I think you have to give yourself that validation now. You have to start cheering for yourself now and give yourself support now. You don't start putting supports on a building after it's built. You do it while it's being constructed. And we need to support ourselves when we're creating anything by not being stuck in analysis, but more so focused on creation. So yeah, thank you. Keep being y'all, keep being great. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, doing what you can, what you have, and